And Venezuela is about a month away from its inauguration day, but on January 10th, the candidate the world sees as the president-elect may not be taking office. Current President Nicolás Maduro is clinging to power, claiming he won the election. Now a top UN human rights group is ordering Venezuelan officials to preserve election materials as it investigates claims that Maduro stole the election in July. The UN estimates 7.7 million Venezuelans have left since 2014 as they face violence and lack of food, and more than 545,000 have come to the United States. Now the outcome on Inauguration Day could send more fleeing to the U.S., just as the Trump administration is promising to tighten immigration. Venezuela's opposition leader, María Corina Machado, joins me now with more on all that. Maria, thank you for joining us again. You know, just a month shy now of Inauguration Day. Do you think Edmundo González, widely recognized as Venezuela's president-elect, will actually take office on January 10th?
Thank you very much, Diana. We're facing really tough times at this moment in Venezuela. As you said, the whole world knows that Maduro lost. We won by a landslide. But Maduro's decision since then has been to unleash the most brutal repression wave in our history. Actually, it's been increasing in the last days. I have to tell you that as we speak, the siege around the Argentinian embassy under the protection of Brazil has been getting stronger and stronger. Houses of neighboring houses have been taken by force by the regime. My colleagues there have almost 2 weeks without electricity. They have cut the service of water, limiting food and medicine, no visits whatsoever. I mean, this is a huge event that should have the attention of the whole world right now. It is a sign of desperation, Diana. It's a sign of weakness. And I have to say that Maduro is in his weakest position ever, with real fractures between the system, the criminal system that forms the regime. Regarding the date, as you mentioned, it's just a month in front of us. Well, it will depend. It will depend. And basically what also the world does at this point. Maduro needs to feel the pressure of the democratic Western democracies in terms that he must accept that their regime, their days are over, and that his best option is a negotiated transition. So it will depend on what we all do from here until January 10th.
Now, if Venezuela's current leader, Nicolás Maduro, refuses to step down, what does that mean for your movement?
Well, I would say what that would mean first and for the whole world. I mean, we are facing a regime that has turned into the main ally of the enemies of Western democracies and the U.S. I mean, Maduro has opened Venezuela territory for Iranian agents, for Hezbollah agents that have received identities and passports with which they have entered the U.S. Maduro is the most important ally of Vladimir Putin in Latin America. Maduro has been forcing millions of Venezuelans, as you mentioned before, to flee our country. And if he prolongs this agony, we will see 2, 3, 4, even more million Venezuelans leaving our country in the next months. That is a tragedy that we need to stop. If we want to solve the migration issue that, hurts us so bad, we need to go to the root of the problem, to the cause of the problem. And people need to feel they have a future in their own country. If we manage to have a negotiated transition, as it was voted by a landslide on July 28th, we will not only see migration flows stopping, we will see hundreds of thousands of Venezuelans coming back and having also a democratic government that will establish rule of law, that will secure property rights. We will turn Venezuela from what it is today, the criminal hub of the Americas, into the energy hub of the Americas, a true trustable ally of the U.S. and the rest of the countries of this hemisphere in energy supply, not only in oil and gas.
Now, President-elect Trump's inauguration day is January 20th, just 10 days after Venezuela's, which means this could become an issue for him. Have you spoken to him about it?
Not yet, not after the election. We do have great relations, as you know. but I would say with both parties. I mean, Venezuela is such a huge issue in terms of national security for the U.S. that has remained a very partisan issue. And you've seen lately in the last hours, senators from both parties been speaking out really strong in support of our colleagues hold hostages at the Argentinian embassy, and speaking strongly in terms of what this current administration should do, the Biden administration before it goes, and certainly the very important signals that the new administration, the Trump administration, is already sending. I mean, naming Marco Rubio as a foreign secretary of state, secretary of state. I mean, it's a huge message for Latin America. I mean, he's the first Hispanic that it's been named in such an important position, and also Mike Walsh, that's been named as the National Security Council, has sent strong messages in support of democracy in the whole region. I mean, this goes beyond Venezuela. It has to do with Cuba and Nicaragua. Believe me, these two regimes stand today because they are supported by Maduro. So this is a moment to move forward, to give clear messages in terms that the world is not going to turn the page, that there have been committed crimes against humanity, as the United Nations have stated. As we speak, Diana, the ICC, the International Criminal Court, is holding their annual member states assembly, and the investigation regarding the crimes that have been committed by Maduro and his entourage are moving ahead. So it's important, very important, that the world understand that this is a huge opportunity. We've never had one such as this in 25 years to turn Venezuela into a true democracy, a great ally of the United States in promoting freedom, in opening markets, in addressing the energy issue, and certainly in getting rid of those agents that are enemies of our democracies, that are acting in the Americas because of Maduro's relations with these tyrannies.
Do you think the Maduro government is concerned about the incoming Trump administration?
Oh, certainly. I think so.
So Senator Marco Rubio is nominated for Secretary of State. He comes from Florida, many Venezuelan immigrants there in that state. How do you see that impacting these negotiations? And in general, what are you looking for the world to do to help Venezuela right now?
Well, to do what it takes and what's correct, and what it's also the duty and responsibility of democracies around the world. I mean, we Venezuelans went into election, Diana, in conditions that you would never have accepted in any other democratic country. And we organized citizens. We tear down the barriers the regime had built to divide our country, and we won by a landslide, by 70% of the votes, even though, as I say, there were absolutely unfair conditions. So now we have a united country. You know, more than 90% of Venezuelans here and abroad want a change to democracy. We want to have a country where we can bring our kids back home and turn Venezuela into a vibrant democracy, to attract huge investments in the oil and energy sector in general, but many other areas. Venezuela will turn, as I said, in the energy hub of the Americas, but we need you, the international community, acting now, letting those that are being committed crimes and repressing our population know that they will be held accountable. Then you increase the cost of repression, you increase the cost of staying in power by force, and then you reach a point in which that cost of staying by force, by violence, is higher, outweighs the cost of a negotiated transition. That's the moment where Maduro will sit down and negotiate his exit from power. And that's where we need to go get before January 10th. And this is a unique opportunity we've never faced before. And everybody's interests are aligned with a democratic transition, even those, let's say, left-wing governments that used to be Maduro's allies in the past, but that understand that in order to have political stability in the region, we need to solve the Venezuelan crisis, which is the most important one in the Western Hemisphere today.
Venezuela's opposition leader, María Corina Machado, we appreciate your time today. Thank you.